The sound you hear today, billions of streams, global tours, chart domination, it all started somewhere raw, unfiltered, and dangerous. Before hip-hop became a worldwide empire, it was survival of the sharpest mind, where one record could shake the streets and echo across generations. From dusty turntables in the Bronx to booming speakers across cities, these records didn't just play. They moved people. They were played in clubs, blasted on radios, copied onto tapes, and passed hand to hand until they became legends. Today on Mild Network, we're going back to the foundation, uncovering the 10 most played rap songs from 1980 to 1990. The records that didn't just dominate their era, they built hip-hop itself. These weren't just songs, they were movements. Records that traveled from the streets to the world, shaping the sound, the culture, and the future of hip-hop. And even decades later, they're still being played, studied, and celebrated. This is Mild Network, where history meets sound.
Higher, baby. Get higher, baby.
Number 10, The Message. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, 1982.
It's like a jungle sometimes.
It's everywhere. People pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care.
When Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five released this record, it didn't just enter rotation. It shifted the entire atmosphere of hip-hop. Up to that point, most rap songs were built for escape, parties, dancing, confidence, celebration. But the moment this track began to play, everything slowed down. The energy changed. People stopped just moving and started listening.
On my mother's TV says she watches too much. It's just not healthy.
The production had a haunting, almost hypnotic feel. It pulled listeners into a world that felt heavy, real, and unavoidable. And as the lyrics unfolded, they painted scenes that were impossible to ignore. Scenes that many people lived through but had never heard expressed so clearly. DJs noticed something unusual. Instead of losing energy, the crowd leaned in. Heads nodded, conversations paused, and the room stayed locked into every word. That's when it became clear. This wasn't just another record. It began to spread. Radio stations picked it up. Clubs kept it in rotation. Street DJs blasted it from speakers, and people started quoting lines like they were personal experiences. And the more it played, the more it changed expectations. Suddenly, hip-hop didn't have to just entertain. It could speak truth. That's why this record wasn't just one of the most played of its time. It became one of the most important ever created.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
No 9. It's Like That. Run DMC, 1983. When Run DMC came through with this track, it felt like a reset button had been pressed on hip-hop. The sound was stripped down, no disco influence, no extra decoration, just hard drums, sharp delivery, and a presence that demanded attention. It hit differently from the very first second, and that difference mattered. Because when DJs played it, the reaction was instant. The crowd didn't need time to adjust. It connected immediately. But what really pushed it into heavy rotation was the message. It spoke directly about real-life struggles, money, pressure, survival. It wasn't exaggerated or dressed up. It was honest. That honesty made it replayable. Every time it came on, it still felt relevant. It still felt current. It still felt true. And because of that, it didn't fade like other songs. It stayed. It circulated. It became one of those records that DJs could always rely on. Not just because it sounded good, but because it meant something every single time it played. Number 8. White Lines. Don't do it. Grandmaster Mel Mel, 1983.
of passion.
When Grandmaster Mel Mel released this track, it created a powerful contradiction that people couldn't resist. The groove was infectious. The rhythm pulled you in immediately. It felt like something made for the dance floor. But at the same time, the message underneath told a completely different story. That tension between sound and message is what made the record unforgettable. People danced to it first. Then they listened closer. Then they replayed it, trying to catch every detail they missed. DJs quickly realized its power. It worked in clubs because it moved people. It worked on radio because it held attention. And it worked in the streets because it reflected real conversations happening at the time. The more it played, the more it spread. And the more it spread, the more people understood it wasn't just entertainment. It was awareness wrapped in rhythm.
Strange reaction. Go my way, pay your toll, sell your soul, pound for pound.
That balance made it one of the most replayed songs of the decade. Not just because it sounded good, but because it kept revealing more every time you heard it. Number 7. The Show. Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, 1985. When Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick released this, they didn't just drop a track, they created a performance that lived inside a recording. From the very first line, it felt like something was about to happen. There was build-up, anticipation, a sense that you were being pulled into a moment instead of just hearing a song. And when it fully kicked in, everything connected. The beatboxing felt alive, almost like a live show happening in real time. Slick Rick's storytelling added personality, humor, and style that made every listen feel fresh. DJs leaned on this record because it guaranteed a reaction. The crowd didn't just hear it, they responded to it. They knew the moments, they waited for the lines, and when it hit, it turned into a shared experience. That's what kept it in rotation. It wasn't just replayable, it was relivable. Every time it played, it recreated that same energy. And that's why it stayed relevant long after its release. Number 6. 6 in the Morning. Ice-T, 1986. When Ice-T released this record, it introduced a level of storytelling that felt almost cinematic. It didn't rush. It didn't rely on hooks or flashy production. Instead, it built tension slowly, pulling listeners into a narrative that unfolded moment by moment. From the very beginning, it felt like stepping into a scene already in progress. You weren't just listening, you were following along, trying to understand what would happen next. That structure made it incredibly replayable. People didn't just want to hear it, they wanted to experience it again. As DJs picked it up, it spread through underground circles first. Then it expanded outward as more listeners connected with its realism and detail. Over time, it became a blueprint for storytelling in hip-hop, influencing an entire generation of artists who wanted their music to feel just as vivid and immersive. And because of that, its replay value extended far beyond its original moment.
I see 6 in the morning, police at my door.
Numero 5. La Di Da Di, Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, 1985. When Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick created this record, they did something almost unthinkable. They stripped hip-hop down to its bare bones and somehow made it stronger. There was no heavy drum machine dominating the sound, no layered production trying to overwhelm the listener, just beatboxing, voice, and rhythm. And yet, from the very first moment, it commanded attention. What made it powerful wasn't just the sound, it was the presence. Slick Rick didn't just rap, he performed. His storytelling felt natural, conversational, almost like he was sitting across from you, narrating real-life moments with humor, style, and charisma. And that connection made people replay it endlessly. Not because they missed something, but because they enjoyed being in that moment again. DJs quickly realized its value. It didn't depend on a specific crowd or setting. Whether it was a packed club or a small gathering, the record worked. It adapted. It lived. Over time, it became one of the most referenced and sampled tracks in hip-hop history. Artists studied it, quoted it, reimagined it. And every time they did, they brought it back into rotation. That's what made it timeless. It wasn't tied to a trend. It wasn't locked into a specific era. It existed in its own space, one that people could return to again and again. And that's why, decades later, it's still echoing through the culture. Number 4. Eric B. is president. Eric B. and Rakim, 1986. When Rakim stepped onto the mic with this record, it didn't feel like a takeover. It felt like a quiet revolution. At a time when energy often came from loud delivery and crowd hype, Rakim did the opposite. He slowed things down. He controlled the rhythm. He made every word feel deliberate. At first, listeners didn't fully grasp what was happening. It didn't hit you instantly like other records. But that's exactly what made it powerful. Because the more it played, the more it revealed itself. DJs kept it in rotation not because it caused an immediate reaction, but because it grew on people. Each listen unlocked something new. A rhyme pattern you didn't catch before. A flow that felt smoother the second time. A confidence that became clearer with repetition. And slowly, it started influencing everything. Rappers began to change how they wrote, how they delivered, how they approached the mic. The standard shifted from just sounding good to being technically great. This wasn't just a popular record, it was a blueprint. And because of that, it didn't fade. It stayed in rotation, not just in clubs, but in the minds of artists who studied it like a manual. Number 3. Straight Outta Compton, NWA, 1988. When NWA released this record, it didn't ask for permission. It announced itself. From the very first moment, the energy was undeniable, aggressive, direct, and unapologetic. It didn't try to fit into the existing sound of hip-hop. It created its own lane instantly. And that's what made it powerful. Listeners weren't used to hearing this level of raw honesty. There was no filter, no attempt to soften the message. It was real, and it hit hard. That impact created curiosity, and curiosity led to replay. People wanted to hear it again, not just because it sounded intense, but because it felt important. Like it was saying something that hadn't been said this clearly before. Even with controversy surrounding it, the record didn't slow down. If anything, it spread faster. People talked about it, shared it, played it louder. DJs recognized that energy and kept it in heavy rotation. Because every time it played, it created a reaction. It wasn't background music, it was front and center. And over time, it didn't just become one of the most played songs of its era, it became one of the most defining. Numero 2, Fight the Power, Public Enemy, 1989. When Public Enemy released this record, it didn't just enter the culture, it challenged it. The production was intense, layered, almost chaotic, but in a way that demanded attention. You couldn't ignore it. It pulled you in immediately. And then came the message. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't hidden. It was direct, bold, and impossible to overlook. That combination created something powerful. People didn't just listen to the song, they felt it. It became more than music. It became a statement, a soundtrack to moments bigger than entertainment. It played in public spaces, in gatherings, in films. It reached audiences far beyond traditional hip-hop listeners. And because of that reach, it stayed in constant rotation. Every time it played, it carried the same weight, the same urgency, the same impact. It didn't fade with repetition. It intensified. And that's what made it one of the most played and most influential records of its time. Number 1, Walk This Way. Run DMC featuring Aerosmith, 1986. When Run DMC teamed up with Aerosmith, it wasn't just a collaboration. It was a moment that changed the direction of music itself. At the time, hip-hop and rock existed in completely different spaces. Different audiences, different platforms, different expectations. But this record brought them together in a way that felt natural and explosive at the same time. The chemistry was undeniable, the energy was immediate, and the reaction was instant. MTV pushed it heavily, introducing hip-hop to audiences who had never engaged with it before. Radio stations followed. Suddenly, the song was everywhere. And with that exposure came replay. Massive replay. It wasn't just being played in hip-hop spaces anymore. It was crossing into mainstream culture at a level never seen before. That's what made it different. It didn't just succeed within hip-hop. It expanded what hip-hop could be. And because of that, it became one of the most played songs of the entire decade, breaking barriers and opening doors for generations of artists that follow.